Recently, I came across a headline, this one particularly from CNN, but similar headlines all over the place, including in some very leftist media organizations, attacking Joe Biden for his decision to open up the Gulf of Mexico for oil and gas drilling, which Biden pledged during his campaign he was not going to open it up for drilling. No new leases, he said. And then we get these headlines and stories telling us that they've opened up 80 million acres in the already fragile ecosystem of the Gulf of Mexico for oil and gas drilling. Pissed me off. And then you get about 2 paragraphs into the story and you realize that your anger's a little misplaced. Here's the actual headline from CNN. Why the Biden administration is reopening oil and gas leasing in the Gulf of Mexico. All right, I'm ready to be pissed. But it turns out Biden isn't doing that. Yes, 80 million acres are for lease now, but it's not because of a decision made by the Biden administration. It was because of a decision made by Donald Trump several years ago when he was president of the United States to reopen the Gulf of Mexico for oil and gas drilling, put all of this out there, said we're going to hold an auction for these leases, but lawsuits were filed, and that actually prevented the leases from going forward. Until, about a week and a half ago, I think maybe, a judge, a Trump-appointed judge, came along and said, you know what? Millions, perhaps billions of dollars are at stake here, and I can't in good conscience block these leases. So we're removing the injunction, which means the leasing auction has to move forward. The judge specifically said, millions and possibly billions of dollars are at stake. That's from Judge Terry Doughty. So Jen Psaki comes out and says, listen, I know people are pissed, but you got to understand, our hands are tied. There's literally nothing we can do right now because the judge lifted the injunction, and because of the measure Trump put in place, the auction has to move forward legally. And they said, of course, we're going to appeal the ruling. Hopefully we can get another injunction and we can stop it altogether. So what gets me is that this was framed, again, including in some very leftist media outlets that I'm not going to name because I really like them and I don't want to piss them off, but I am disappointed in them and I know they watch Ring of Fire, so I know they know who I'm talking about. This wasn't a Biden administration decision. Trust me, I am not one to go out there and openly defend this administration. If you're a regular viewer here, you understand that. You know that. So that's why I'm hoping you take what I'm saying very seriously, because what this story is about the failure of the press in the United States. That's what I'm getting from this. Yes, CNN told the story in the article. The headline didn't lead you to believe that. And this wasn't the original headline they had on the article, by the way. It said Biden betrays climate pledge and opens up Gulf of Mexico for oil and gas drilling. And I know you clicked on this video because it had a similar headline, right? And I did that so people might be able to hear the real story. You get pissed off of that headline like I did for this CNN article. You click on it and then you realize, oh, wait, that's not at all what it is. So I didn't do that headline, by the way, to misinform anybody or to lead you on. It's not clickbait. I'm showing you an example of what the media does. As somebody who has lived along the Gulf Coast for damn near my entire life, I lived through the Gulf of Mexico oil spill. Every time I walked outside of my house, you could smell it for months. And not just the oil, the toxins they were dumping in there, the core exit, to make the oil drop to the bottom and disintegrate. We're still living with the effects of that, by the way. I do not want these leases, but I'm damn sure not going to sit here and blame somebody for it when it was the other guy, Donald Trump, who actually did this, along with, of course, that profit-motivated, Trump-loving appointed judge, Daltrey. If you can't get enough Ring of Fire, we encourage everyone to subscribe to our channel for fresh video content 7 days a week. And for even more from me, you can follow me on all social media outlets, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Fair and Balanced.